Go live. Hey everybody, if you're tuning in, we are live. I'm just off screen. So hop on, say hey, be friendly. Huh? Hey. All right, we are moving this along. Huh? It says live. It says 3 people are on here. Whoa. Oh, what's up, everybody? All right, you're here. I'm going to leave the screen for a second, but talk to each other. Oh, what's up, everybody? It's all blurry. Focus. There we go. What up, y'all? Sorry, I had to get a hair tie to pull this monstrosity back. There we go. Look how awesome that looks. Sweet. Glad you guys are here. Taylor's here. Brianna's here. Jesse, Riley, Erica. We have Alyssa. What is happening about ants? Brianna, you did turn 16. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. That's awesome. And you got a terrible song by me, but hopefully your birthday is great. You're 16. Girl, you were like 11 or 10 when I met you. Wow. Time does go by. Hey, Shanda, missed you. So glad you're here, girl. What up? Oh, man, so glad you guys are tuning in. I'll give you guys this announcement at the end as well. Sorry. There we go. At the end as well. This Wednesday for Zoom, we are doing life groups. So our city youth life group. So that means when you show up, we're going to have a fun banter, and then the girls will split off, and then the guys will split off as well. So just want to give you guys that heads up that will be happening Wednesday. But yeah, I'm so glad. 8 years. Oh, you were like 8. What year is it? I think I met you in 2014, which I think is 6. I think I met you this last month, 6 years ago. So you were 10. Whoa, crazy. So happy you guys are here, jumping on. Noah, you're driving from Las Vegas, so you guys are watching this in the car. Thank you. And if the internet goes out, McKenna, you made it. If the internet goes out, I will let you know. We will. What am I saying? I'm having a malfunction. You guys can watch it later. But I'm so glad you guys are joining. Super excited. You guys kind of know the deal tonight. We are going to be doing this question answer thing. So you guys had to ask questions on GroupMe, and now we are here. We are going to be answering more of those questions. If you missed last Wednesday's, it's going to be up on unlisted on YouTube. So I'm going to put a link in the GroupMe as soon as, my TV's still on. Let me just turn this off. Real life here, y'all. I will put it in the GroupMe as soon as we're done so you guys can watch, and you can copy that and send it to friends. So the only way you can watch last week's recording is with the link. I'm not posting it public because I want to make sure your guys' faces are just protected as much as we can. I don't want to put you guys all out there, but you guys can share that with friends and whatnot. So, yeah, we're going to jump into this because we have about an hour, because I know some of you guys have dinners you need to get to and things you need to get to. So What? Yes, we out here unlisted. I'm on you. Okay. Well, if being YouTube famous is just making YouTube videos, call me Robert Downey Jr. Babe, can you close that window, please? Thank you. Yeah, we are soups famous. All right. All right. I'm just pulling up the questions because yeah, boy, was not ready. There we go. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. If you see me looking down, it's strictly because my notes are on my phone down here. Yeah, so this last Wednesday, Robert Downey, 100%, 100% as Iron Man. So if you guys are just joining us or you are newer to what's been happening the last couple weeks, we've been talking about race and racism that's been going on forever in the world, especially in our nation. If we speak it here, it's been going on a lot in our nation for a long time. But recently, through several deaths of Black lives in the last month, it's been more apparent. In the last couple weeks, we've had protests happening. We've had, not laws, but I guess laws in certain in certain states that are redirecting the course of policing and what's going on. And so we're going to continue that talk tonight. And I'd asked you guys last week to send questions to the group me, and we would answer those questions. So to send questions and we would answer them. And so Wednesday we had talked through several questions, and a few of them that we had talked about was Morgan had asked me specific, how does it make me feel when I notice someone staring at me or being cautious around me because they're making assumptions based off color of skin? Or we had questions about how come society can't see us all as equal? We're all human, therefore we're all equal. And we answered some of these questions, or all of them, the ones that were answered. So if you go there, we only answered a few of them. But we want to continue that by answering more questions that were asked in the group meet. Now, I think I answered most of the student ones on Wednesday, and so now we're going to answer some of the leader ones that were great questions, and we're going to be very real. So if you're here, if it's your first time joining us, we are so glad you are here. My name is Kellen. I'm the youth pastor here at Our City Church, and we're going to be leading this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Join in the chat if you would like. I know there's going to be moments where the chat won't be crazy busy. It's because mainly because I'll be in the middle of a statement, and we have fun. We normally have fun for the longest time on the in the chat room, and tonight may not be the most like, hey, let's make jokes a lot. I may do it to break tension because it's a weird habit that I've had since I was younger. So if I try to make jokes, I apologize. I'll try to be as serious. Lighthearted with the heavy topic, but in the chats, if you guys want to do like we do Sunday morning, put the amens or that's a great point or things like that. At the very end of the video, I will refer to the chat, and I would love to hear your thoughts, whether it's anything from great stuff to I have a question about something you said. And if I don't get to every question, you guys know the group me is still available. You can always post questions there. And this Wednesday, when we break into our smaller groups, girls with girls, guys with guys, that will be a moment for all of you students to kind of express what the last 2 weeks has been like. You guys have been doing a great job listening and learning. And so this Wednesday, we want you guys to be able to speak, whether it's, man, this stuff's heavy and I still don't know my feelings about all of it, or whatever it may be. We want you guys to be able to express this Wednesday. And Richard, I will always stop and say hi to you, my friend, my little brother, my homie, my Richie. I love you, dude. So there's that. I don't even know if he's still on here, but I did a whole 30-second piece dedicated just to the Richard Cooper. Okay. So with that said, that was weird. I don't know why I did all that. Got all sentimental. All right. So, okay, Richard. All right. So we're going to jump into this. Taylor, I think you're amazing. I love you too. But it's Richard. Richard is like a calm stream in a busy forest. Richard is like a meteor shower when you're sitting out in a field, one perfect dark night. Richard is just really cool. All right, so we are going to, that's weird. You guys, this is, oh, wait, Riley. So I gotta be silly because this is how I am. Oh, whoa, do the wave. If you are here and you are invited by someone, we are so glad you're here. Woo, woo. This is exciting. Okay, so that's what you get. If you're Riley's friend, we always like to do this, but I won't call you out because I don't want to embarrass you. But we're so glad you're here. All right, so we are going to be jumping into these questions. So I'm just letting you guys know. You did a great job Wednesday with your maturity. I asked that your maturity goes like it's just awesome. I don't see your faces. I will feel a bit more inclined to be very real. So with that said, that might happen. Just gonna let you guys know that might happen. But please don't feel too uncomfortable. And well, if you feel uncomfortable, you know what? It is what it is. I'm sorry that you are uncomfortable, but I'm not. So here we go. We're gonna jump into this. One question that was asked by Katie. It says Matsumoto on there, but we know her real name, Katie Moore, my lovely wife. She had asked this question: how do you respond to someone who doesn't think racist exists? That, when I read the question, it is such a real question. And good night. Oh, okay, before I answer that, hi, Jenna. What's up? Jenna's here. Hey. I'll get back to that really super serious question I just asked. But I want to say, what's up, Jenna? So glad you're here. And I will always stop to make someone feel loved, valued, and that they belong. And Jenna, I want to let you know that you are loved by this entire chat, this entire ministry, that you have value. You are so amazing for who you are, and that you belong here simply because you're you. And so we are so glad you're here, and see the love that you see. So we're going to jump back into the question, back into the serious question, but just want to let you know, Jenna, you are awesome. So here we go. The question was, once again, how do you respond to someone who doesn't think racist exists? Now, this question is a very real question, and 100%, 100% a real thing. There are people in our nation. I'm not going to say the world because this isn't a world issue right now. Now, the cool part about the world is there are people in London and people just all over the country that are protesting and letting people know in their communities that Black Lives Matter. John Boyega, who was Finn in Star Wars, has been on the streets of London protesting and even going on Twitter saying, hey, if this ruins my career, so be it. I need the world to know that Black Lives Matter. And so you have people all over the world. But here in this nation of the United States of America, when people have this point of view that don't believe racist exists, how do you respond to someone like that? Well, first and foremost, there isn't like a series of questions that you can ask them to be like, hey, you're racist. You can ask a simple question like this. Have you ever heard a stereotype about a certain culture or race? So just asking the question, have you ever heard of a stereotype? And you can think of a lot. And I can right now, because I have lived in this world, I can probably say a lot of stereotypical things. We can go minor, and I'm gonna say a couple, but I'm in the Institute of Teaching. Italians all talk with their hands is a stereotype. Black people, I can do this one because I have heard it. Black people love fried chicken. It's really weird saying it out loud, and I know we're talking about race, and you guys hear it, and you're like, ugh. Another stereotype that I've heard. Now, I don't believe this is true, but I have heard, and this is getting very, 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 very real. Yeah, Alyssa says, blondes have more fun, or blondes are ditzy. That is a stereotype about a people group. The idea of certain people group not being able to drive well is a stereotype. In the people group, I'm only smiling because I have an amazing wife sitting over here smiling at me. But there's a stereotype that if you are Asian American, you're not a good driver. These are all stereotypes that people know. Why? Because they're said in movies, Why? Because they're said in comedy specials. Why? Because we hear them all the time. So if you're dealing with someone who doesn't believe racism exists, start with stereotypes. Stereotypes are a microform of racism because we as a society have been okay with it, with them. And yes, making jokes is fun. And there are comedians who make money off of making jokes about white people, whether they being white or black, and people making jokes about black people, whether them being white or black, and everywhere in between. If you're Hispanic, you've probably heard a ton. And I'm not here to give you a laundry list of stereotypes, but I believe stereotypes are a microcosm of racism. It's an easy way to let certain prejudice that may not be hurtful in the grand scheme of life go through into the world. And so if someone comes to you and says racism doesn't exist, but the world's history book and any country that wants to learn about America will always know that we had slaves. It is a part of America's unfortunate history. And I'm pretty sure they may not have had the word racism back in that day, but when one people group feel they can buy another people group, that means you're lesser than another people group, and that's racism. In the Bible, if you go back, there were Jewish people and there were Samaritan people. Jewish people hated, and when I say hated, I don't mean like, oh, they just didn't like them, but went about their day at the grocery store with them. No, they hated them so much so they wouldn't even go to the city of Samaria, and so they were pretty hateful and racist towards them as well. Now, I know they were probably all Middle Eastern, but Palestinian people and Jewish people made Samaritans, and there was just infighting and hatred. So it didn't start in America. It started a long time ago. So how do you respond to someone that doesn't think races exist? Well, just let them know that they may not think it exists, but go talk to a few people who have been on the other end of it not existing. It's real. It's real. We've all been there. If you are a certain race, you've heard something said about you. I'm going to say a word that may make people uncomfortable, but just because it doesn't mean as much as the N word, which I will not say, white people being referred to cracker can be a racist, not can be, is a racist term towards white people. And so it doesn't matter what race you are, there's racism towards, but normally racism is it's normally towards a smaller group of people, the minority group of people in said area. And so here in America, the smaller group of people have always been non-white people. So racism's real. Resources that you can start learning with. Resources. First of all, anything, I would say, simplify anything that our city church is doing Sunday mornings and tonight are great resources to learn. There are many books out there, guys. There are many books out there written by many great people. I would say if you want some help on seeing the movement that has currently happened, go listen to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches. Not just his I Have a Dream, but his speeches. He made multiple ones. And if you have not listened to the entire I Have a Dream speech, go listen to it. Because the speech is more than just, I have a dream. That one day, there's more. There's like a whole thing about, and he talks about riots. He talks about protesting. He talks about voice. He talks about stuff that is very real and happening now. So I encourage you guys to do that. If you have access to, thank you, Jesse. You can access all of those on Spotify. If you guys have access to social media, or if your parents do, go follow. Thank you, babes. You put it right there. Go follow Dr. King's daughter, Dr. Bernice King, and she's been posting on Instagram and Twitter, and she puts great resources and great opinion. She has been working hard prior to these protests for the last some odd long years. She's incredible. That's a great resource. I think those are great starting points for you guys. It's just to go hear what people, great men and women, are talking about prior. So MLK Jr. is amazing, and following his daughter. Start there. And then if you guys want books to read, I have a couple. I don't want to say them off here because I think sometimes when I give you guys a lot of resources, it becomes overwhelming. So start there, and then I'll post books and things that I know that are good resources in the group me this week. So we'll do that. Last one that Katie asks is, how can we be intentional about being friends with people who are different than us? Great question. Now, you shouldn't go out there and be like, all right, you're Black or Hispanic, I'm going to be your friend. That's very odd and not sincere. So don't just go find a friend because they look different, but how do you genuinely become friends with people who are different? Now, if you guys are at school, it's a lot easier because you'll have a lot more people that you can just go talk to. But I would say this, if you have relatives, let's start here. If you have relatives that are married in, that have different background than you, I encourage you to go sit down with them and talk to them. We'll start with family first. Maybe your cousin married someone that, maybe you are white and your cousin married someone that was Black or Hispanic or whatever. I encourage you to just reach out to your family first, because it is a little bit easier to build a relationship with them because they're your family. So that's one. Two, if you have friends in your friend pool that are different than you, man, like, don't be weird and lean in too much, but start asking real questions. Not, oh my goodness, have you seen that movie? Like, that's cool fluff talk, but ask questions about, like, hey, how are you doing in all this? Like, what are your thoughts? Like, I just learned some stuff with my pastor, and man, I realized I didn't know a lot of what he was saying. And you're a friend that, geez, like, you've been here. How are you doing? And begin to just let them talk and learn and get deeper. Katie had a great idea. Where was it? Oh, yeah. Heart check. Your group of friends, look at them. Do they all look like you? Do they all sound like you? There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but there are a lot of people around you that will laugh at your jokes and will want to be a part of this group here, this ministry. And so I really encourage you guys to look around, and if your friends have friends, be more intentional about hanging out and broadening your horizons. Now, I never had a hard time, and everyone's different. So I will say this. I can go to the grocery store now and make 3, 4, 5 new friends if I wanted. Because my personality is, I like people. I know how to naturally now ask questions and can engage in conversation and be like, hey, let's hang out. So, like, I can do that. I know some of us are not as much like that. But be intentional when you have opportunities around you. So take advantage of those moments, like the conversation we had a couple weeks ago. Make it count. Make those moments count. I know it can be awkward to ask for somebody's phone number or a way to keep in communication, but do so. And when things get a little bit normal, invite them places. Hey, me and my friends are going to get yogurt, frozen yogurt, not just regular yogurt. That'd be weird, but like going to get frozen yogurt. Do you want to come with? It's really easy to invite once you are intentional. And let's get this straight. We're not being intentional to make friends that look different than us so we can say that we have friends that look different than us. There should be a heart thing where you genuinely want to be a part of different backgrounds and cultures, and you want to love and let them know they're loved and be loved by those cultures. So I encourage you not to just have friends to say, man, I have a Black friend now, but rather have a Black friend or a Hispanic friend or a Asian friend, because you want to love the world the way the world is, and that is diverse. So I think that's a hard thing too. I can't tell you to do that. That's something that you and yourself need to learn. I was just been very fortunate in my life to have grown up with two friends that I'm fortunate that they love me and that they have different culture than I do. They are white, and I just grew up with them. And so vice versa. My mom, literally our officiant, Pastor Chris, officiated a couple of our weddings, which is weird to say out loud. And then my other friend David officiated another wedding. And my mom calls him her fifth son. And not once did him being white matter to my mom, but we did learn about different culture, and it's super awesome. And even to the degree of that other friend, Dustin, was over yesterday. He came over and we had a conversation, Katie, him and I, about his life and his future and things that he wants to do. And the whole time I'm looking at him, he has white skin, he has blue eyes, green eyes, he has blonde hair, and we're talking and sharing conversation, and not one point did it feel weird. Granted, I've known him for 23 years, so I've known him a long time, but it was just a natural thing. And so it was really cool to sit in my house and see a black man talking to a white man and talking to a Japanese woman, which it's super cool. So I don't know why I'm sharing this, but I hope this is encouraging you guys. I feel like I'm just ranting now, like I tend to do. Anywho, let me answer another question. Taylor asks, what are some ways to be practically a part of what's happening with the protest for someone who can't actually go protest or donate money or sign petitions? Great question. Y'all are under 18, so you can't really sign petitions. You can't really give money unless you ask your parents to give through that, or if you have a credit card, and that's good for you, but talk to your parents about all that. And you can't just leave your house right now and say, I'm going to go protest. Maybe because your parents feel differently about it, or just safety reasons you probably shouldn't do it. How can you get involved? Well, here's the deal. If you go look at if you follow Our City Kids or my account or something like that, I posted a video of a bunch of kids walking down the street with their own signs, little kids, and their parents probably helped them out, and they have their little wagon. They're going down their own street saying Black Lives Matter. I'm pretty sure you guys live in a community that has homes that have people, whether it's an apartment complex, a townhome complex, or a housing complex. You probably live somewhere that has people. You have the ability to go to a Walmart or Target, if you're Taylor, and buy poster board and write Black Lives Matter. And with permission of your parents, you can put it inside your windows. You can stake it on your lawn. You can stand outside your apartment. If you have a cul-de-sac, you better walk that cul-de-sac and let your neighbors know that you are in support. Just because you can't go where the masses are doesn't mean your voice can't reach important people. And your neighbors are important too. And so your physical neighbors, not the Jesus love thy neighbor, but like your physical neighbors who live to the left and right of you are important too. I think that's great. If you have neighbors that, if you talk with your parents and you're on the same page with your parents, invite them to a backyard hangout. Make some food if you can do that, and have conversation and ask them, be upfront. Hey, you want to come over? You and your family come over. We'd love to talk to you. Or, hey, what are your thoughts on what's happening? Or just go to their house or go hang out or go. You can have your voice. You can speak your voice. Just because you can't petition doesn't mean you can't be heard. Yeah, I think that's where that starts. I know phone calls are weird for you guys. Maybe, I don't know. That used to be a stereotype. Who knows? Maybe you guys love talking on the phone. But if you do, call your friends, call your family. I think just because you can't petition doesn't mean you can't be heard. I know there's a couple of friends on the chat that their siblings have been going on Facebook or going on places and expressing very eloquently their position and their thoughts. And when I go on Facebook and I read it, there is a lot of back and forth. And there is a lot of hiccups with family members, and to be confident about it. Now, you guys, I know you guys aren't on Facebook probably, but you guys have an opportunity with your family groups. Sit down with your parents tonight. Hello. Sit down with your parents tonight and say, Mom and Dad, let's talk about racism. Can't protest. You can start a movement in your house. An open movement talking about real stuff. I know the Garzas are driving a car, and hey, Danny and Lucinda, if you can hear me, you guys should all have a conversation in your car when I'm done about racism. Have the conversations. Now, hopefully I'm not starting something in the vehicle, but I'm starting something, so go talk in the car. But yeah, you guys can have a voice by reaching the people in your circles. We talked about it Wednesday, reaching the people in your circles. And Taylor continues to ask this question. What is the best way to handle someone close to you, family members, friends, having different opinions? Great. This is a great follow-up question. Love it. It's like Taylor knew where I was going to go with that answer. What is the best way to handle someone close to you, family member, friends, who have different opinions about this topic? Noah, yeah, I got a thumbs up. Here's the deal. Before I answer that question, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Write this down if you're taking notes. It is A-OK. It is okay. It is okay to disagree with people. Pause for dramatic effect. It is okay to disagree with people. Off screen, you're going to hear someone answer questions, and they're going to be different point of view. Babe, do you like watching horror movies like I do?
No.
That was a no, and a laugh at the end. No, it's a hard pass. She does not. Babe.
Yes.
I love vegetables. I love celery. Do you like celery?
I don't.
She does not like celery. Weird. I mean, not weird. I mean, it is weird because celery is great, but we have different opinions. It's okay to disagree. Now, that was like silly stuff. We agree a lot when it comes to the hard-hitting stuff about Black people's lives mattering, because she married me. So, with that said, she believes Black Lives Matter, so we obviously agree with that. Our kids in the future are going to be Black. Whether she wants that to happen, which she does, or not, our kids are going to have dark skin or going to have color in their skin because yeah, boys got dark skin, and I love it. Beautiful. I'm like Beyonce. Okay, what that say? It's okay to disagree with people. That's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You know what? Even more so, it is okay to debate and to argue. That is okay. It's okay to have confrontation. Arguing's okay. The manner of how you argue is where I will. Punching should not be a part of arguing. Being disrespectful and off point to hurt the person should not be on the table. But it's okay to argue and debate conversation because you have different opinions. Here's the deal. How do you handle when people are disagreeing? Well, it depends. If you are speaking appropriately about your point of view and they are speaking appropriate about their point of view, it's okay at the end of the day to not convince the person that they are wrong, because that's when you start to argue and to fight, is when you start to, you're wrong, you're stupid. How can a stupid idiot like you think of stupid idiot things like that? Stop it. That is not progressive or helpful in any context. But to sit down and to disagree and be respectful, it's sometimes allowing your feelings. And listen, if I was sitting with someone right now who thinks Black people are the worst and they were sitting right there, would I punch them? Maybe. But I would try, for the sake of this conversation, have a civil conversation about why they believe what they believe. And I will let my emotions play themselves out later when I talk to Katie. I'll let my emotions be controlled because I'm not controlled by my emotions. I can have feelings and thoughts, but my emotions will not control the actions and the person that I am, because my character will always override my emotions. Now I'm getting into a preaching moment, but this is good. My character will always override my emotions, meaning My emotions would say, punch that person, call them every cuss word you don't say, because your boy doesn't cuss, but like, say every cuss word and make them feel lesser because they're making you feel lesser. That's my emotions. My character will say, you know what? You may hate me, but I will still love you the way that God's called me to love you. I don't like you. I mean, I don't like you, but I will love you because that's what God called me to do. And the best example I had was when Jesus literally got spat upon and got mocked. He still loved. They hated him. They hated Jesus. They killed Jesus because they hated him. They killed Jesus because they hated him. I want you guys to know that. They killed Jesus because they hated him. So if someone's sitting next to me disagreeing, not even saying they hate me, just disagreeing with my point of view, I think my character of a human will override that. And that's why protesting has been peaceful, because they want their character. We love and agree and support and believe Black Lives Matter. Their character is going to override the emotion, because the emotion of Black people has been demonstrated through some riots. Some through white people have done it, some Black people have done it. It's not the point of the conversation. But riots will happen because emotion overrides. And it's understandably, listen, when there's hundreds of years of slavery and then still non-equality in this world this nation that we say is equal on the basis of just skin, not even equality in other realms, gender or whatever. This is just the color of our skin equality. Okay? They're out there doing peaceful protests because they're letting their character, everything inside of them that believes Black lives should be more than just matter, but we're using Black Lives Matter because it is what it is. But we're letting people know that Black lives should matter in this world. Our character is getting us out there and protesting and speaking up. Our emotions will fuel it. That's where the passion comes in. But their character will be the peacefulness. Riots are a whole different thing. That is emotion boiling over and people not being able to control what's going on. And honestly, I'm not saying people should riot. I'm not saying you should riot. I don't think riots should happen, but I understand why they happen with that. So the best way to handle someone is you stay the course of your integrity and your character. If they want to flip out and cuss and whine and throw in points that don't even have anything to do with the point at hand, let them do that. You stay the course of the correct what you believe, not just biblically, but just societally, like just in our society, we should be equal. And obviously the Bible supports all of that stuff. So, but you, the only thing in life that you can control is you. Unless there are things about, I'm like, never mind. Yes, I'm just going to say that. Only thing you, for the most part, can control is you, okay? And so there's that. Hopefully that answered. Cool. I'll move to the next question. I don't see any faces, so I think you guys are giving me the thumbs up, so I'm just going to move forward because there's a delay between when I speak and when you guys post stuff, so it is what it is. Okay, next question. I think, Brianna asked that question as well. How do you deal with friends and family who see things differently? I think I'll speak a little bit more on family because I think if it's just people, do what I just said. Family, do what I just said. But also family, I think you need to be a little bit more intentional with saying out loud in the beginning, hey, I would love to have a conversation. And there may be a point where we will disagree. And when we have this conversation, can we please try to have some decorum? Fancy word for meeting word for let's just be calm and cool-headed and be correct in this. And sometimes you have to do that. So if you're going to sit down with your parents or drive in a car with your parents and know that maybe, not saying this applies to the Garzas, but maybe someone in the car has a different point of view, it's establishing, hey, if we're going to talk about this, or if it naturally comes up, chime in and be like, hey, if we're going to talk about this, can we agree that we aren't going to be hateful to one another, but rather just speak out of what we believe and have decorum? And I think hopefully in your families, they will hear that, especially y'all being younger, playing the the mature card. I hope that the older people in your family will respect that and hear that. But I think voicing it, not letting it just be assumed. Because right now we're assuming a lot in the nation, and that's why we're protesting. There's a lot of assumptions going on in the world. And one of them was that Black lives aren't as important as other lives. So that's where we're at. Okay, with that said, I'm not trying to start controversy in your own room while you're watching this, but sorry, let me swipe over. Okay, here's a question. Another question. How do you feel, or excuse me, let me say, sorry. Let me ask the question the way it's written. Sometimes, guys, you'll notice when I start talking, I think while I'm talking, and then sometimes this happens before this, and that's why I fumble words and whatever. Okay. Here we go. Question. Erica asks, do you feel it's offensive being referred to as Black rather than African American, or the other way around? Great question. So a little history on what African American or Black people have been called. So if you go way back in the day, there was that word. I'm not going to say that word, but there's the N word, Nigger. There was that word, and that word was as a derogatory word. It was a word to make Black people feel lesser. Then the word Negro came into play. You'll hear it in Martin Luther King speeches, and like super old people will sometimes maybe even say that word still. And then you follow up that with colored people. That word was around for a bit. And then African American came in. And I remember my mom sharing when my grandpa, who was Black, my grandpa still said colored people at one point. My mom had to correct him. And I'm pretty sure my grandparents and great-grandparents used the word Negro as referring to Black people. So that's the progression. So the N word, the derogatory one, has kind of withstood the test of time. And quick side conversation, if you guys, I'm not going to get super deep in this. I'm just going to let you know the facts. If you wonder why Black people use the N word, with an A at the end, and they refer to one another like that, and they do it in songs and in television and movies, the reason that they say this word, it's because there was a point in time in history where Black people wanted to take a word that was used to bring them down and make them feel negative, and they adapted the word and made it their own word, our own word, so that, like I said, I don't say it. My mom doesn't say it. I don't know if my brothers probably don't say it, but my family doesn't say it. We don't say it. We don't like saying that word. I think I've said it twice in my lifetime, and it was probably for teaching lessons like this. I don't go around saying, what's up? Like, that's not me. The reason it's in culture, if you're wondering, like, why do Black people say not white people? White people said it at one point, and it hurt Black people. Black people then took it and started saying it to each other as a term of, it's our word, and it's going to mean brother, sister, whatever they believe it means. But like I said, I don't say the word, so don't expect me to say it. Anywho, back to the question. African American was the next term that was used, and that kind of was in this whole realm of like Latin American and Asian American, Pacific Islander American, whatever. They started to politically add that. And then Black came in. Black was always probably around, but like it's now accepted as I'm a Black man. So if you say, hey, Kellen, you are a Black man, I would say, amen, sister. Thanks for noticing. Black is not offensive. African American is not offensive. You can use whichever one you feel more comfortable saying. Those two words are not offensive. I will say this. I've never been to Africa, and my mom wasn't from there. She was born in LA. My dad was from Missouri. So there's that. I have a best friend who is African American because his parents were born in Africa, and he was first generation born in New York from two Africans. And so he's African American because his parents are African, and he's legally American. So my friend Johnny is African American by term. So Black, African American, both don't offend, and whatever you feel comfortable with saying. Just don't say colored person, and don't call a Black person a person of color, because person of color refers to any person of color as a collective. So me, Hispanic, other, there's a laundry list of other. But I think if you want to be respectful and talk to a black person, African American person, use those two terms. I think that would be best bet. So long answer, but there you guys know. You have information now. Now we jump in. We jump in on the deep end here. Here we go. What's the best way to be supportive of both sides without offending the other? Is there a process on how to handle each side, both sides, meaning supporting blacks in their movement, and the racism issue, and supporting law enforcement, those who are genuine good ones and keep us safe? I know you can only give input on one side, but still helpful. I hope this question made sense. Erica, I read it all out loud because it made sense, and it makes sense. So this is a tough question because okay, this is a tough question. I know answers. I just want to see how I preface this. My mustache looks really good in this lighting. Okay. Okay, here we go. So Pastor Chris and Dr. Campbell talked about this last week. They had a conversation about law enforcement. They talked about black. They talked about what the movement is talking about. And they talked about all of that. So please, I will say this. You want more information? Go watch that video. There was a black man who was in law enforcement, and he speaks on it very, very articulately. It's amazing. Articulates very well, in it. Chris is there, does a good job facilitating that. Today, Pastor Corey and Pastor Chris had talked about stuff. I don't think they leaned in too much on law enforcement on that. The reason I'm hesitating is because I want to lead, but I also want to lead at the speed of my leader. So I'm trying to remember if Pastor Chris had said anything. I don't want to high step me saying stuff and then you guys telling your parents, not that I'd say anything wrong for you to be like, guess what Pastor Kellen said, but I don't want things to get around where then Pastor Chris has to talk to me and say, hey, we didn't talk. So I just want to make sure I'm in line of correctness. Okay. I just want to be correct with what I do, but I'm going to answer the question. One of my best friends, his name's John. He was at my wedding. He stood beside me, and he is one of my best mans, groomsmen. All my groomsmen are like best men, but he's one of my best men from Lancaster. And he, for the last, trying to do math is really bad, 12 years, I've been really close to him. Me and his family, super close. He is a police officer in Lancaster, always has been since I've known him, and he continues to do so. And he is white. He's Caucasian. And I want to know from you guys, do you prefer Caucasian or white people? That's a question I'm throwing back at you. And why don't we call like white people like Europe Americans? Why do they get just Americans? Oh, good questions. Oh, I'm thinking of questions. Let me answer the question. I'm going sideways. Just hold that note. I have a lot of thoughts. Okay. He is a cop, and we've talked all the time when shootings happen, when cops get arrested and all that stuff. I call him and I just talk to him like, hey, how are you doing? Because he is a law enforcement, but first and foremost, he is a Christian. He is a Christian first and foremost, and then his duty when he wears the badge is to protect and serve. And he's been doing it with integrity, with character, with spiritual guidance. He is an amazing officer. Always has been. How do you how do you talk on both sides? Well, here's the deal. The protesting is happening because we want the nation as a whole to understand and to see Black people in our lives matter. We talked about it Wednesday about equality. America is free. America is not equal. And you can start through race, then you can start through gender, then you can start with I don't know, just socioeconomical. Like if you say I came from a poor community, regardless of your race, you'll probably looked at a certain way when trying to apply for a job. So there's that. But you can look across the board and see that America is free. It is not equal. In Los Angeles, recently, in the last 4 years, I'll just say that, if you are Hispanic to any degree, I couldn't imagine just what you felt from what the nation's leaders were saying about you and your people. Couldn't imagine it. If you are Black, my great-grandmother passed away 3 years ago. She was born in like 1910s. The 1910s. She was 90 when she died. 99. She was old. How old was she? She was super old. I'm going to say 99 because she was like really old. I think she's 99. Yes, she did. She passed away before 100. Yes, she was 99. She passed away. She was born in like whatever, do the math, 1910s. She was born in the South. My grandma came from Mississippi. I couldn't imagine what my great-grandmother, who was Black woman in the South, my great-grandfather, what they were called and went through living in Mississippi. I can't imagine that. And she's not around for me to ask this stuff. I wish I was a fool to not have asked her when I was younger, but it is what it is. And I could ask my grandma, but she unfortunately is not in the sharpest frame of mind. So I know some things would be lost in translation there. But the reason people are protesting is because historically, and you guys cannot deny history, slavery happened, Jim Crow happened, killing happened. When we just wanted to be super equal by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. got assassinated for just speaking very radical stuff at the time, but very just, we want to be equal, got killed for that. Malcolm X, same thing. The protests are happening because they want the nation to see that they aren't treating Black people the same. Unfortunately, it comes at the hands of people that have authority, the authorities, police officers. Killings that have been happening at the hands of Black people are at the hands, they're happening. Law enforcement are killing Black people. I think Pastor Chris said it this morning. When people use the idea of, well, statistically, more white people are killed by police officers than Black people, Pastor Chris brought up the idea of, well, there's more white people in America. So statistically, that should happen. But here's the thing. I feel like if you do the stats based off, I don't know, this is me just thinking. If you do the stats based off the population, I feel Black people are incarcerated, are harmed and or killed a bit more. There were laws that were placed a long time ago called stop and frisk that helped incarcerate people of color, Black people. So to be on both sides, to answer this question, is needing to know what both sides are about. Black people just want to be treated equally. Law enforcement is supposed to protect and serve. I have no issue with law enforcement as a whole. The issue I have is people in charge not acknowledging and putting to trial and arresting people who are killing while protecting and serving. I think that's where I want to stand, and that's how I want to share this. Guys, if you're watching, you're wondering why is he acting so weird? This is the first time I'm verbalizing this out loud, and I always want, or to an audience, I always want to be correct sensitive, but real. And this is on YouTube right now. And so I want to make sure that I represent not just me and my culture, my people, but also our church, who is doing a great job leading the conversation. So if you're wondering why that I'm pausing, is because I want to make sure I articulate stuff correctly. There is some things wrong, I believe, in the law enforcement realm, that I think when we were able to vote and pass laws and move finances to help secure different areas where cops don't have to be dog catchers and mental health experts. But I think once they start moving stuff so that they can protect and serve and begin to really have accountability for the 4 men that watched George Floyd and participated in killing him, when watching the 5 men take out, or the 4 men who are cops, or the 5, when they stand and shoot, or the men that shot a woman in her house without a warrant and just went for it. Like, when those men and women are held accountable correctly, I think that's when the protesting will be heard. And then we can even go into equal pay, wages. Then we can even go into opportunities. Then we can go into just look at who runs the country. Go on Google after this, find a picture of the White House cabinet, our senators, our representatives. Go find a picture, and you will see a big difference in between people looking like me wearing robes and suits and people that are white. So, with all of that said, answer your question. How do we take both sides? You listen. You make points of what the discussion is talking about. If the discussion is talking about Black Lives Matter, it's talking about Black lives mattering. If the issue is restructuring law enforcement, the issue is restructuring law enforcement. There is crossover because we've had in the last month multiple videos of law enforcement and Black lives. But hear me when I say this. It is possible to talk to someone about police, law enforcement, because I love several law enforcement officers dearly. But I love my people so dearly. When I see them not mixing well, I can speak up confidently on both sides. Will arguing happen? Yeah. Because there's some people who are in law enforcement who've never been Black. And so they think they're doing right, and some are and some aren't. But 100% of the time, Black lives have been Black. So the best way is know your audience. If you know who you're talking to about this stuff, guys, if you're talking to a friend or a family member that is very pro whatever on either side, just know your audience and don't go in there just saying a bunch of stuff, but rather go in there with tact, knowing your audience. So I think that's the best case scenario. I think Pastor Corey and Pastor Chris did a great job this morning. Go watch that if you guys need a reference of how we should respectfully converse with someone and have their opinions. So that was the second question to that. But I think go watch Pastor Chris and learn from him and learn from Pastor Corey about respecting opinions. Because at one point, literally, Pastor Chris said he doesn't feel that he could kneel for the flag. Now, for you want all context, go watch it. He supports Kaepernick kneeling. Pastor Chris does. He supports acknowledging that things need to change. But he also supports veterans, like crazy supports them. But Pastor Chris had an opinion that may have made Corey feel in disagreement, but they still had an hour-long conversation and still are great friends, best friends. So it can happen. So please go watch that for a reference point. Whew, guys, I'm gonna be real. This is heavy stuff for me even to talk about. So I'm exhausted now. Like all my emotional energy came out from that. I don't want to be too much in my head because I can be really in my head with stuff like this, but I also want to be really real with you guys and transparent. And some of this stuff, honestly, y'all, I'm still processing and how to verbalize that loud as well. So there's that as well. So I think for questions, those were all the questions that were given. I know, Brianna, you did have a second question. What was the best way to talk about and voice your opinions and not step on others? I think we answered that in the mix of all this. So I want to make sure that you know that I think I covered it. And then the comfort we answered on the first one. So I can't wait for us to be in the same room together physically because I think there's something looking you guys in your eyes that's going to be awesome for us, because this conversation isn't going to end. Maybe in a month we will stop talking about this directly with questions and answers, us and even on our Sunday mornings, but the conversation won't stop until we feel equal. And even in the moments of us feeling equal, it may take us years to feel the ripple effect of things being decided and things happening. So please, guys, please, this isn't a fad. Protesting may come and go, but speaking up for Black lives is not a fad. And if any of you students for one second think racism and protesting and all this is only happening in your generation, you are sorely mistaken. You young people, the age you are just seeing the ripple effects of when Black people were carried over in ships a long time ago. We are all just seeing ripple effects. My parents saw ripple effects. My grandparents saw ripple effects. My great-grandparents saw ripple effects, so on and so forth. Racism isn't a your generation thing. It's an America thing. And it's been here. Unfortunately, our world is broken, so I can't ever tell you that it's going to ever 100% end, because it won't. Because people's hearts are people's hearts, and we cannot control people's hearts. But I want to make sure that you guys continue to have conversations with friends, with people, that you continue to speak up when you hear racist things, when you hear stereotypes, when you hear offensive, when you hear hate, speak up. Don't ever, from this day forward, sit in the back of your classroom and watch hurt happen without saying something. Will you get hurt? Maybe. You may get physically hurt by people. You may emotionally get hurt by people. You may get hurt online. You may have a crazy backlash for standing up for someone that was racially being harmed, verbally or physically. But Jesus died because he spoke up for people. And if you claim to be a Christian who follows Christ, not saying we need to go out there and be martyrs and die, but just take a second and reflect on the fact that the one person that's the cornerstone of our faith, cornerstone, we are Christians, we are Christ-like, we are Jesus Christ-like. He died for speaking up on a day that was supposed to be the Sabbath. He died because he healed. He physically spoke up for people when they were in need. And that's why they crucified him. And they didn't like what he was saying. I'm not saying you guys need to go be martyrs for Black people, but you do need to stand up and speak up, because when more people do that, guess what happens? Guess what stops people saying racist and doing racist things over time, the long haul. So love you guys. Jenna, I know it's your first time watching. You came on a very intense day, and so I hope you learned something, or at least felt like you were taken care of and loved, and that, you know, got a couple more perspective. And everyone else on here, like, I know you guys had some conversations about meeting up and stuff like that, and internet issues. I saw it, but I didn't chime in because I wanted you guys to figure that out yourself. But I love you guys so much, and you guys have a lot to talk about. Please take time to take your notes, write your hearts down, write things down in your journals. If you have more questions, hey, the group me is still here. And there's a feature, you can make it like night mode, which is my favorite. The group me is still here. You guys can ask more questions. I love that, Jen, you were here with us. Thank you, Clap family. Thank you for inviting friends. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys Wednesday on Zoom at 7 p.m. If you guys have more questions, I'll try to this week answer them I'm not the best with text, so I'm going to voice message it, and hopefully it answers more questions. And so if there's typos, well, I didn't correct them. So love you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next Sunday, but we'll see you this Wednesday at 7. So, oh yeah, Jenna, woo! Love you guys.